We'll use a marker to draw onto the latch to give us a mark to drill. Removing this broken pipe is nearly impossible using a wrench or pliers. We can use 2 bolts and a screwdriver to get the job done. We can attach this bolt to this socket to make things easier by drilling. We can use the snap blade to open up old padlocks. We'll bend the blade in half and then cut off one edge on both sides of the blade. Now we can slide the blade between the shackle and the case to pop open the lock. To paint clean and even edges, we can cut the bristles off of this paintbrush at an angle. Then screw a plastic card onto the back of one side. This will give us a clean line. We want to make sure to apply Teflon tape to metal fittings. Make sure to wrap clockwise, which is the same direction as the fitting. We can use a drywall knife to better clean up this bucket. Instead of moving the knife up and down, scrape in a circle around the bucket. This axe needs a new handle. Our new handle doesn't quite fit right now. We'll make a few marks along the top of our axe handle. Then we'll make cuts along the marks using a handsaw. Now we can use a couple of balloons to squeeze the handle together. Now we can hammer the handle into the axe head. We'll fill the cuts with glue and some wedges, and then cut off any excess wood. Now we can add a finish to the handle. If we need to remove paint from this roller tray, we can add a few thin layers of paint, letting each one dry in between coats. That will make it easier to pull up the paint in one single layer. When applying mounting tape to this metal frame, we can use a smaller piece of the same frame to line up the tape along the outer side. We can temporarily attach these 2 metal frames together using a couple of screws. We'll first drill our holes, and then we'll make sure to install the screws at about a 45-degree angle. Our next tool that we'll be making is good for connecting 2 metal wires together securely. We'll start by removing the head from this bolt, then drilling a hole through the center. We can use a magnet for any metal dust. Next, we'll use an angle grinder to cut out an indentation in the bolt. Now attach nuts to both sides. We can pass the wires through the hole in the bolt and out through the indentation. Now when we tighten everything together, the wires won't slip. If you happen to run out of caps for your PVC pipes, you can use a straight fitting and a coin that matches the size of your pipe. Next, we'll be using this pipe welding machine to connect the fitting to the pipe. Now the coin will act as a cap. We need to install this T-joint onto this pipe. First, we'll cut the pipe that runs along the wall. We'll use our pipe welding machine again to connect the fitting to the bottom half of our pipe, and then to the pipe that passes through the wall, and lastly, to the top half of the pipe.
we use lemon juice to remove highlighter marks. By cutting off the top of this toothbrush, we can insert a jigsaw blade into the handle to make a handheld saw. To prevent cords from getting tangled, make a loop with this cord and wrap the rest of the cord around it. Insert the plug through the loop and pull it tight. We can even hang our tools like this. Levels are a valuable tool to have for all kinds of DIY projects. Today we'll be taking out the vials to attach to our drill. We'll place hot glue onto the back of the drill and press the vials down in a T shape. Now, as long as the table and board are leveled, the holes will be straight. If our wrench is too big for this smaller bolt, we can grind out a slot to fit the size of the smaller bolt. Weed whackers are probably some of the most finicky tools in the shed. To make a more permanent solution, let's make a few modifications. We can start by drilling holes around the outer housing to install the cable ties. We can also remove the guard blades. We can even use this modified version to clear away snow in the wintertime. To sew dowels by hand without a table, we can use a carpenter's square for support. This can work for both round and square dowels. Our next project will be a bit of woodworking. We will be connecting an end face with a crosspiece using a wedged mortise and tenon joint. This is an extremely strong joint that's even used to attach axe heads to their handles. We'll start by making our marks on both pieces using a pencil and a marking gouge. We are marking out a basic mortise and tenon joint. From here we'll cut out the tenon, making sure it's about 1/4 inch longer than our marking. Clean it up with a chisel. Then we'll mark out and drill 2 holes. Then saw from the end to the holes. These are the slots for the wedges. To make the mortise, use a drill to remove most of the wood. Then we can use a chisel to clean and even the edges. Now we'll make 1/4 inch marks on one side of the mortise to create tapered sides. Now we can make our wedges. We'll be using a different colored wood to create a distinct look. A vise and a chisel can help us to cut out the wedged shape. We'll need 2 pieces that are the same width and slots. Next we'll add the glue on top of the joint and also to the sides of the wedges. Hammer in the wedges as deep as they'll go. Saw it flush, sand it, and apply some varnish for the finish. It can be difficult to cut a threaded bolt on the table. Instead, we can clamp a wrench into the vise and pass the bolt through the head. We need to sharpen our knife, so we'll be using this file instead of a sharpening stone. We can even attach the rod into our drill to help speed up the process. Now, when we go to cut the sponge, our knife is much sharper. Sometimes, when using a whole saw, the edges of the wood are too rough, so we need to go back and sand it. We can cut out a strip of sandpaper and attach it to the drill bit. Now, the edges are a bit smoother than before. To make a tool for scrubbing hard-to-reach places, remove the abrasive layer from a dish sponge and cut out small circles. From here, we'll attach these circles to a rivet. Attach the rivet to your Dremel, and now we can clean hard-to-reach places, clean up old tools. Here's a quick tip that can help make your job a little easier. We want to simply flatten the nozzle using a tube or anything else that you can find. Cut a small angle off and flatten nozzle and screw it back onto the canister. Now we'll get clean, even lines.